I'm reclaiming my time. I'm reclaiming my time. My time is getting reclaimed. Meh.
Welcome to another episode of Can He Be Unchained? You're here with the top heavy host, Kenny Barona. So yeah, today I wanted to hop on. Today's the 28th of July, 2020. It's the end of the day. I wanted to kind of jump on and kind of reflect a little bit on what I seen today. So I spent a lot of time kind of, going over while I'm doing my paperwork at work. I had, in 1 year, I was listening to the Barr Hearings today. So in listening to the Barr Hearings, a lot of what I've been talking about lately is pretty much confirmed, okay? The Democrat Party are completely out of their goddamn minds, right? You waited months to have Barr here so you can ask him questions. So what are you guys doing? They didn't actually ask him questions. I mean, you asked them questions, but you didn't even want to hear the answers. And it was constant with every single Democratic congressman. They would just ask all the questions in the world, and they would just not accept any answers. It was just absolute insanity. How can you have a back and forth if you only want to hear yourself talk? It's like they were just looking for talking points, just stuff that they could say that they said they did something. But what did they do today? They did absolutely nothing. They wasted all of our times. Especially mine. I mean, I watched the entire thing, and it was over and over again. You got Nadler, who just sits back and he just like, "What are you doing, Nadler? What do you do?" He's just sitting back and just letting all this go on. He's not letting Barr answer any of the questions, and he's just letting every single Democrat just like attack. They're a bunch of schoolyard bullies. That's what they are. They're just talking smack directly to his face, where he can't even respond. He had to beg for a bathroom break at the end of this thing. How many hours was he on? Well, we'll check that out right now, all right? So you can see right there, 5 hours. They had him doing a testimony for 5 hours. And they didn't want to hear a goddamn word he said. These are your Democrats. These are the people, if you vote blue, this is what they're going to do. They're just going to barrage somebody and not let them put up a defense. Absolutely crazy. I don't understand how can this be allowed to operate like this. I don't understand how the Republicans don't just like stand up and be like, let him answer the question. Like, no, I'm not accepting your gavel. Let him answer the question. The Republicans literally had to take their time and hold up their time so he can answer the question from the previous person. They weren't even able to get their questions out because these people are just barraging him with all this stuff. It's like, I get it. You guys are desperate. I get it. It's election season. I get it. You guys want to block all the investigations that are going on right now. You got to protect your elite. You got to protect all of them. Because with all the investigations going on right now, it's not going to look too good for you Democrats. You guys are going to... The day has come. The day is finally going to come. I just hope that when Durham finally comes out with it, that he's gonna like have some substantial things to offer. I'm hoping that it's just not a couple low-level arrests. It shouldn't be just a couple low-level arrests. This goes all the way up to the Obama administration. This entire investigation is going on. It goes all the way up to the top. They set up this Russian disinformation for 4 years. Schiff is a Russian agent, blaming it on Trump. Trump's a Russian agent? No, Schiff was the Russian agent the entire time. The entire time. Lying about having evidence. Then they forced through an impeachment that they had no evidence to even support. That was complete insanity. I watched that entire thing. It was a desperate act. It was like they had to force it through in a time limit. Why? Why do they have to force this through in a time limit? Oh, they find out that all the documents Giuliani found over in Ukraine were getting released the same time they started this impeachment. He was bringing them over. All the documents showing the money laundering in Ukraine that the Democrat Party's been doing for decades. But still, it's like, and now they just took complete control of the narrative. 2020 impeachment beginning of the year. Then they went straight to the COVID thing, and they pushed it to like extreme proportions. Meanwhile, the statistics aren't even that crazy. What happened to the flu deaths? COVID seems to be the only cause of death now. And it's like, really? We've never shut down anything in this country's entire history. We never shut down anything for any sort of illness. And now we're going to do it. And now they're not going to want to relieve it because their goal is to hurt the economy before the election. Their goal is to hurt people before the election. They need to create division. If they can create this division and they could blow it up right in your face, like all the divisions going on. This is it. They're separating people into groups. Rich versus poor, black versus white, racist against non-racist. It's insane. Republican against Democrat. It's like they're creating all these little groups. You're either pro-gay, you're against gay, you're pro-abortion, you're against abortion. There's like all these groups that they're just dividing everybody into. The Democrat Party, they were all about segregation years back. It hasn't changed. It hasn't changed at all. They're still segregating everybody. You are still being oppressed by them. If you're living in a state that's constantly voting blue, that's what's happening. They are oppressing you. They are hurting communities. In the guise that they're the working party. In the guise that they're out to help out. They're not helping out anything. They haven't helped out anything for decades. Decades of waste. Decades of abuse. Decades of failing communities. Decades of failing schools. Decades of failing economies. It's insane. Joe Biden and Obama were shipping out jobs by the millions. And yet, they're expecting people to vote for him in office. The guy who got caught in Ukraine doing shady stuff, got caught in China doing shady stuff, has a literal video of him planning, bragging about a whole quid pro quo that they try to turn around and blame Trump for. And he didn't even have a quid pro quo because there was nothing traded. This is absolute insanity by the Democrat Party. It's like they're really trying to pull absolutely all stops possible. Then all of a sudden, you notice the Kung Flu thing. The Kung Flu thing is funny. All right? I could show you the exact instant when the Kung Flu thing was first mentioned. It wasn't mentioned by Trump. It wasn't mentioned by the Trump administration. It was mentioned by the media. And then they started spinning the narrative. They said it so many times in a row that eventually Trump ended up using it. You know why? Because it rhymes with Kung Flu. It rhymes with Kung Flu. Kung Flu, Kung Flu. It kind of has a flow to it. And they want to take that and spin that as something racist. Meanwhile, how can you be racist against a disease? How can you be racist against a martial art? Doesn't make any sense. But they want to spin that narrative. They got to show you that Trump's a racist. Even though he's done more for the black community than the prior administration's entire 8 years. Obama at the absolute high, he had 16% unemployment rate for the black community. You know what Trump's high is? It's like 7. And it's been dropping every single year he got into office. And with the unemployment rate dropping, incarceration rates also started dropping. People started doing better. And then all of a sudden, even the statistics with the police unarmed deaths. 2015, it was 30-something for the black community. Last year was 9. But they take these couple of instances just to show you a video after a police officer already decided to arrest a dude. After he was already decided to be arrested. So you don't see the whole front of the story. You only see the back end of the story. Then you don't realize how hard it is really to arrest somebody, put the cuffs on them. If somebody's resisting with the cuffs, it's damn near impossible to get them on. You got to seriously exert a lot of physical force to get those handcuffs on. If you don't believe it, go buy a pair of handcuffs, go grab a couple of your friends, have a couple beers, and then tell your friend that no matter what, you cannot let me get these handcuffs on, and then try to arrest them. See what happens. See what happens. See how brutal you have to be to get those cuffs on. I'm not a police officer, but I can understand that concept. I did take criminal justice in college, so like I know the books. Yeah, nothing. But I do have some family that are police officers, and they tell me it's very hard to try to get the cuffs on somebody who doesn't want the cuffs on them. And you can see that as evidence in so many different videos. It starts off simple. You know, police officer tells you you're under arrest. At that point, you either comply or you don't. If you comply, you just get arrested simply. Get put in the back of the car. Done. If you don't comply and you resist arrest, they got to exert physical force. Every single arrest requires physical force, even if they let you arrest them, because you still have to put the handcuffs on. There's still contact there. They still have to take you, and they still got to put you in the vehicle. They still got to bring you to the station and bring you into the station and bring you to the booth so you can get your ID and everything figured out. You can stand back on the line, get asked a couple questions, take a picture, and then you sit in the little detainment center for a little bit. I know, I've been arrested a couple times. My early 20s. 33 now, so been way over 10 years. But I still remember the instances. I still remember what happened. I still remember getting pulled out of the car and getting thrown on the floor. I still remember getting assaulted inside the police detainment center from a police officer. It's not just a black thing. This happens to everybody that gets arrested, right? And not to say they didn't have a good reason to kick me, but he felt a certain way, and that's what he did. And of course I reported it, but the cameras inside there, they just tell you they're off, and it doesn't go anywhere, but it's neither here nor there. But still, it's such a narrative that's just being spun because it's an election year. And they have all these people. They're basically like government robots, right? They've been fed government assistance. They've been fed welfare. They've been fed public housing. They've been fed Obama phones. Just give me. Because ever since the Democrats figured out that all they have to do to get votes is to literally buy them now. Hey, I'm going to give you free this. And if you don't vote for me, he's going to take it away. Vote for me. He's racist. He's going to take away your free stuff. That's like the childish, like schoolyard antics that they resort to. And with Barr, with just how they were going at him, unbelievable. Unbelievable, some of the accusations they were throwing at him. And he wasn't even allowed to respond. Now they wouldn't even let him respond. That is obscene. That is obscene. Telling me he's abusing his power, this, that, and the other thing. He has to literally fight to try to get 3 words out as they keep talking and barking over him and telling him, I'm reclaiming my time. I'm reclaiming my time. My time is getting reclaimed. Meh. Every single one of them. And those female Democrats, they were the worst by far. They were so brutal. They were like, it was unbelievable. Like, they had this entitlement. Like, they have this entitlement where they're just trying to show off. They're just trying to show who can be the meanest. But they're a bunch of bullies. That's what they boiled out to. They bullied the hell out of him for 5 hours straight. The only time he got to answer any questions was when the Republicans asked questions. And for the last, hour and change, because there's only so many Republicans on that stage, it was all Democrats just berating him. And then when he asked to go to a bathroom, what'd they do? Now there's he wanted 5 minutes. So I'm assuming he wanted a quick bathroom break. And now it was declining it. And Jim Jordan literally had to go at him you're not going to grant him 5 minutes? I mean, everybody's granted 5 minutes. What are you doing? Oh, we're almost finished. Doesn't matter if you're almost finished. Let him go to the bathroom. Let him go. Do what he has to do for 5 minutes. Come on, get out of here. He's a grown man. And they were just berating him like he's a little child. Not accepting any of his answers, not letting him get his answers across, because if they let him get his answers across, he was going to completely prove them wrong. So what was the point of having him up there? Just to berate him. They didn't want to gain anything out of that. They just made themselves look like a bunch of bullies. And it's really insane that what goes on in Congress. You wonder why their approval ratings have been shit for 20 years. This is why. This is why. They aren't adults. They aren't adults. They aren't looking for a consensus. They're just looking to get their talking points out so they can post a 5-second little clip. Ooh, look what I said to him. I'm mean. I'm bad. I'm great. I'm a great person for doing this. I got him. You got nothing because he wasn't allowed to even put his point across. And this was over and over again with each one of them. And some of them were just so brutal and so rude with it. It was disrespectful. Over the top, disrespectful. And I don't know how you can treat somebody like this. Somebody that originally, when he got into office, you guys were everybody was praising, oh yeah, he's a middle of the road guy. He's a great guy to have in the position, this, that, and the other thing. And then all of a sudden, just because he's looking to obey the rule of law, and the Democrats have been against the rule of law for a long time now, and now they're getting caught up in the mess. Now because he's not showing that he's he's not on your side. He's showing that you guys are in the wrong. You guys are crying like a bunch of babies and just throwing temper tantrums in his face. You guys are like a bunch of spoiled brats. Every single Democrat needs to get voted out of office. All of them. All of them. The racist party that's been around for over 100 years has got to go. They should have been banned. They should have been banished in the mid-1950s after all the segregation, all the Jim Crow, and everything they did after slavery to prevent black Americans from getting rights. They should have been knocked out of office a long time ago. But with FDR, that's when the switch started changing for them, and black Americans started voting for them. They started voting for their slave masters. I don't know how that was allowed, how that actually happened throughout that community. I guess a lack of leadership. And even into the 1960s, like, Democrats weren't doing anything for you. They did this whole war on poverty that just turned around and hurt the community. They hurt your community. They hurt the country. Illegitimacy rates, they jumped like 50%. Like 50 percentage points higher than what they used to be back then. Black Americans had better statistics back then than they do now. So what does it show you? It doesn't show you that after slavery, like this is a continuance of slavery. And this isn't a continuance of slavery. After slavery, things were better. And then after the war on poverty, things kept gradually getting worse. All right? Even though some statistics over the past years have been getting better, especially with policing, with the incarcerations, with the prison system. But it's still, they don't want you to see any of those statistics. They don't want you to see any of them. They don't want you to see that the protesters, like the Republicans were showing how the protesters are so violent. And they're trying to say that they're mostly peaceful protesters. Mostly peaceful. If they're rioting and destroying shit for 61 days, that's not peaceful. That's not peaceful. Do you see the graffiti all over the town? That's not peaceful. That is damage to property. That's not peaceful. If you start spraying stuff and you start tagging everything in the freaking town, that is damage to property. That is not peaceful. If you're throwing stuff at the police, that is not peaceful. If you're trying to burn down buildings, that's not peaceful. If you're starting fires in the middle of the street, not peaceful. So I don't know how they're able to say that. I don't know how anybody could even believe it. All you got to do is watch a whole video. All you got to do. And then one of the Democrats, oh my God, I was like losing my mind. He posted, he said, oh, now I'm going to play this video to show you how we're mostly peaceful protesters. And he showed literally one protest where people are being peaceful. Meanwhile, the Republicans, when they showed their video, they were showing damage all over the entire country. And then another Democrat came up and didn't even show protests here. He showed protests from Venezuela. So what are they doing? If anybody watched this entire thing and happened to be blue, happened to be constantly voting Democrat, you have to see what is wrong with your own party. That was disgraceful. That was a disgraceful act. That wasn't good behavior. That wasn't right. They totally just disgusting. There's not enough words to say just how disgusting they are, and it's just unbelievable how they can go around and act like that. Act like that in public, in Congress. You're supposed to be better than that. Oh, I got to reclaim my time. Oh, so what did you do on yesterday, the 23rd? Oh, I did it. I gotta reclaim my time. I gotta reclaim my time. Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes or no? Did you guys have to arrest protesters? Well, we didn't. We had to replace. No, I'm reclaiming my time. I'm reclaiming my time. So you disagree. You disagree. You disagree. Yeah, you disagree. It's like, how people don't talk like that. That's not how you have a conversation with somebody. It's disrespectful. Like, how can they possibly be winning polls? How can they possibly be winning polls if this is how they act? How can people not see this is how they act? You know what it is? The media just has this control on the country. What do they stand to lose with Trump in office for another 4 years? What are these investigations actually going to turn up? They must be really, really freaking scared if they're acting this way. If they're trying to pull all stops to try to get Trump out of office. There must really be something going on behind the scenes. There's got to be something there. It can't just be an animus against the president. They can't just be anti-Trump to be anti-Trump. They can't just like not like him because they don't like his tweets. It's definitely so much deeper than that. There is something going on so much deeper. Could it be related to Epstein? Possible. I mean, as far as the people that were rumored to have flown down to the island, you got the Clintons, which are like the Democrat elite. They're like the Democrat gods. Hillary and Bill are like Democrat Jesus and Mary Magdalene. That's how they're looked at according to the Democrat Party. The most qualified person ever to run for president. And she lost to an outsider named Trump. Why? Because the people are fed up. We're fed up. We're done. We're done with the politicians. 20 years of negative approval ratings. There's been disapproval ratings for 20 years. The economy? How many trillions are we in debt now? How many freedoms have we lost since 2001? How many taxes? How much you paying in taxes? They're taxing literally everything. You get payroll tax. You get taxed as the money comes in. You get taxed as the money goes out. You get taxed after you die. It's like every little thing is taxed. Sales tax, man tax. Every single way money moves, it's taxed. And where is it going? It's going directly into their pockets. And what does Joe Biden want to do? He wants to push a couple million government jobs that we're going to have to pay for out of our pockets, and they're going to be government waste jobs. Just bureaucracy. Endless bureaucracy. His number one goal is climate justice. That's what it says on the site. Climate justice. He wants justice for the climate. So what does that mean? They're going to take handcuffs, and they're going to handcuff all the small businesses. And you know who's going to benefit? All the big businesses. Why are all the big businesses going to benefit? They like to say and like to push the idea that the Republicans are the ones that are big business. No. There's no bigger business than the government. There's no bigger business than the government. They are the biggest business. They collect the most in taxes from all of us. So if you're trying to create 1 million more jobs for the government and you're trying to build all this bureaucracy, who's getting the money? The government. The biggest business there is in this country. And if you're strangling all the small businesses, who's going to benefit? The big businesses. Meanwhile, Trump pushed for opportunity zones in all minority communities around the country. That benefits small businesses. You know why we see our growth? When we see our growth on the unemployment, it's due to small businesses. And this jump, the minimum wage jump that they're pushing to, it's like one thing after the next. It's all stuff that's been disproven over time, but they decline to look at history. They decline to look at statistics. They decline to even hear people who can show you why this doesn't work. You raise the minimum wage, you're raising unemployment. That's proven. That is a fact. That is what happens when you do that. You're raising unemployment. So you're going to have more people that can't get a job. You're going to have more people on the government dime. So you're creating more dependent people. You're creating more slaves for the government check. Think about that. That's what Democrats want. They want you subservient. They want you to not ask any questions. They want you dumb. That's why the education system is crap. Just look at the statistics for public school. And they want to get rid of charter schools. Why? Because the unions, the teachers' unions aren't for the charter schools. The teachers' unions where you can't get rid of a bad teacher. We should be getting rid of bad teachers. We should be getting rid of bad police officers. We should be getting rid of bad politicians. How'd you get your money, Nancy Pelosi? How do you afford that mansion? What'd you do for that? And Democrats aren't alone. We do got I'd say a couple handfuls of Republicans that have to go. But some mainstays that definitely have to stay, like the Ted Cruz's of the world, the Mike Lees. There's quite a few of them that need to stay, like Rand Paul. Rand Paul absolutely needs to stay in office. He just serves such an important role in Congress. Just because he's that guy. He's that budget hawk. He's that guy that's like, I'm looking at the numbers. It doesn't work out. Doesn't work out. No. He'll stand up for it. He's not towing that party line. But when you look at the Democrats, every single one of them toes the party line. And from what I hear, it's because Pelosi threatens everybody. If you don't stay in line, she's pulling your funding. You're going to lose your position. They're going to put somebody else in that position. And I'm betting that's what happened to the guy that went up against AOC. I'm betting on it. He's probably like, I'm not having it, and then it's out there. I know nothing on it, but I just think it paints a pretty picture, to see that. And they're just so disrespectful. They don't deserve to be in that office. They don't deserve a spot in leadership if they're going to act the way they're acting. Pelosi ripping up papers during the impeachment, like that's like unbelievable. How this. And they're just pandering, taking a knee with African scarves. Like, whose bright idea was that? You look like clowns. Your people look like clowns. That's just insane. I don't know how they're allowed to continue on. I don't know how the people are just taking it. I mean, I guess the silent majority is just like watching and keeping note. Or people are just turning off the TV. Or people are just like, F Trump. My favorite rapper said F Trump, so F Trump. He's a racist because they tell me he's a racist. Meanwhile, you got no racist statements. If he was a racist, why would he hire so many black Americans in the office? Why would he even try to do opportunity zones? Why would he even try the First Step Act? Why would he care about black on black murders in this country? He wouldn't. He wouldn't care. Let him kill themselves, he would say, if he was a racist. If he was a racist, he'd be a Democrat. Globalism, population control. That's what it looks like the agenda. Part of the agenda. Covering for all the elite's crimes. Covering for everybody that flew on Epstein's plane. Everybody that flew on Epstein's plane, just cover for him. We got to get Trump out of office because they're investigating it. They're going to find out. Got to have open borders. Let them all in. And the children. We'll put the children in housing. Send them on a plane to Epstein Island. Keep saying Epstein. But it leaves you to wonder, like, is that something that they want? Like, they want all these kids out of cages. It's a fence. It's a detainment center. What do you want us to do? You want us to just let them into this country? Being a minor? Just don't worry about where they're going. Just let them go in. Yeah, just go in. Just go wherever you want. Just do whatever you want. That's fine. Just go. Oh, I need to find my uncle. Just go. It doesn't matter. Just come in. Just go. We don't care. Or is there something going on there too? Leads you to think. I know. Just watching the Epstein series that he was taking advantage of poor communities of people who were living in families that have just been in poverty forever and a day, and then he's pulling these minor girls out of there and having them rub them down and whatever else. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting human being. I hope everybody that was on that plane gets sent down to Guantanamo, meets Big Bob. Cock meat sandwich all day. But I don't know. It's really getting to a point where it's just like lunacy. It's complete lunacy. Like they'll just say anything. They won't bother having a debate. There's no bubble. It's all bubble talk. Even when I go on liberal pages nowadays, because I always like to. I don't really. I guess you would call it trolling, but it's not really. I'm not looking for a certain reaction. I'm just looking to challenge them. So I'll go on like now this, and I'll drop a comment and now this. and just in hopes that somebody like sees it, is like, no, blah, 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 blah. But they don't even try anymore. They don't even try on now this anymore. Not at all. There's some posts that I posted just going back, just talking about impeachment like 5-6 months ago, and they didn't even bother challenging it because I just laid out a complete destruction of the entire case on how, like, of course, why wouldn't you be concerned if you hear that Biden has his quid pro quo to get somebody removed from office, and supposedly the person that he removed from office was investigating his own son? Like, of course, you'd expect the dad to defend his son and to go over the top just to make sure that he's taken care of. Like, that's what most parents would do. But when you're in a position of power and you get caught doing that, you have to pay for it. You have to pay for it. You can't just get caught and get swept under the rug. But that's what they did. After all this stuff came out, impeachment, COVID. Then they started showing one. This is the thing that drives me crazy. Because, like, if the statistics were so much better last year, how do you draw up the narrative? How do we draw up the racist narrative? Okay, we need to take some incidents and we need to, like, just boom, boom, boom in a row. So I guess they were, like, just hunting for an incident to happen, because incidents always happen every single year, especially with COVID. You know, just think about it. Like, everybody's forced home. Everybody's getting stir crazy. They want to get out. And when they get out, there's going to be some sort of interaction. So first, it was the Ahmaud Arbery case. I think that was the one with the jogger. The jogger happens. But that didn't completely fit the narrative because it wasn't police shooting him. It was just a white on black crime, a white on black murder, right? Because the guy looked like he was doing something shady, ran at him while he was holding a gun, and boom, done. And then they went straight to the lady in the park calling the cops, which now they're trying to make that a charge, which is like, you're charging somebody without committing a crime. You're charging somebody for racism. Racism will never, you can't get rid of it. You can't. You can't get rid of discrimination. People are going to look at people and think a certain thing. People look at me, they see the big noggin, and they're like, oh my God, that is a big freaking head. Little kids too. Like, they stare at me and it's like, oh my God, like, that thing is ginormous. Like, is my head going to get like that? Like, I notice that all the time, especially with, like, infants. Like, they're a couple months old, they just stare at me with, like, these eyes like, oh my God. But, like, every little thing gets discriminated. When you go on a job interview, they're discriminating against you. They're looking at your record, they're looking at your appearance, they're looking at the vehicle you drove up on, they're looking with how you articulate yourself, they're looking at how you look at your past experiences, how you're going to fit the position for the job. They discriminate against everything. Now, racial discrimination, it will happen. There's no way to end it. All right, so say it's the middle of the night, 2 o'clock in the morning, new moon, so it's pitch black out. Now, you should be able to see me at least okay, for the most part, but if somebody with a darker complexion, it's very hard to see them. It's very easy to get startled when somebody with a darker complexion comes up on you in the middle of the night or comes by you in the middle of the night, because you don't see them coming, especially if they're dressing in, like, all black and all that, and there's no, like, alerting lights, and that's just because of the complexion. It's a dark complexion. It's darker, so the light doesn't reflect on it as well. This thing, like, you can see the million of reflections coming off my face, just with the camera, just with the lighting in the room. So just with that complexion itself, like, it's boom, 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 you know. But, like, that's one thing, and that's at least understandable given the complexion. Right? Like, no, you shouldn't act like that. Like, if you see him coming from a mile away, like, this is a different story. But, like, if they all of a sudden startle you out of nowhere, like, it's understandable in the middle of the night for somebody who has a really dark complexion to startle you. That's understandable. It's not racist. That's understandable given the dark complexion of the skin, whereas somebody with a lighter complexion, you'd be able to see him further away. That only makes sense, right? But, like, they just like to take every little thing, and like to take subtle things and try to say it's racism. And it's like, come on, right? Come on. If it's subtle, if it's not meant to, it wasn't purposefully, if it didn't have a hateful intent, if it wasn't meant to show that your race is superior, then it's not really racism. It's discrimination. and discrimination is going to happen. There's nothing wrong with discrimination. People do it all the time. If you took a bunch of kids and put them in a room, say you took 30 kids in a room, all different colors, all different races, where do you think, and you set up a bunch of tables, say, in that room too, where do you think they're going to gravitate to? They're going to look for people with like interests. They're going to look for people that look the same as people in their family. They're going to look for what's familiar. They're going to stay around what's familiar. And then give it an hour. You're going to see where they gravitate towards. And there's a good chance it might go with complexion. If you have mixed families, those kids are most likely going to be with mixed complexions. It's going to like all kind of level itself out. You're going to have a kid that loves to play with cars. He's going to find another kid that loves to play with cars. They're going to sit at the same table together. You're going to find Pokemon kids all sitting together. Because why is a Pokemon kid going to sit with a car kid if they don't have the same interests? It just doesn't make sense. People will always divide each other out like that. But the one thing that cannot happen is we should not have our government dividing people like that. That's wrong. If it's naturally happening, that's one thing. If the government's forcing it upon people, that's the problem. I need a little hydration here. A little H2O. Reverse osmosis. So one of the companies I work for is Long Island Clean Water Service. They've been around for 35 years on Long Island. They've been doing water filtration since before bottled water, believe it or not. Still family owned and operated. We do whole house filtration systems down by the main line. That's where you install it in. So that cleans your water from there, runs throughout the house. Those systems pay for themselves. It's very cool if you're interested in getting rid of the chlorine in your house. One thing that you'll notice immediately when you start showering and clean water without chlorine and all that, you notice that your skin gets so much softer, and it helps out if you have any like minor skin conditions or whatnot. And then we also do reverse osmosis by the sink because that's the cleanest water you can possibly get. So this is reverse osmosis water straight from my sink. If you're interested, feel free to contact me. You can shoot me a comment in the links, or I don't know if you could private message on YouTube, but I'm sure you can off of Facebook and the other places, so feel free. All right. Hydration. I also do roofing, siding, and windows, and insulation too, so feel free to hit me up for all that. That's how I make my cheddar cheese. I'm not looking to make my cheddar cheese doing this. I just want this to be something that I can leave for the world and, be able to get some of my ideas across, some of the connections that I think of, and, see if it helps help people out, because that's the number one goal, We want to be able to wake people up. They say red pill them, but I'm not completely sold on the Republican Party, just because they've just been soft over the years. You know what I mean? Just like so soft. They just let these liberals walk all over them. You can't blame all our issues on the Democrats, even though they started most of these issues, because the Republicans have been complacent, just sitting back and letting it happen. Right? It's just, there's a couple good ones out there. We need more good ones. We need to get rid of the career politicians. That's for sure. A lot of these people that have been in there for decades, they got to go. They got to go. Especially if you've been in there for the past 20 years with these disapproval ratings. All of you got to go. Like, that's just unacceptable. I don't know. Maybe we should break down a disapproval and approval ratings per person, but I don't think enough people pay attention to politics. It was kind of from like my parents' generation and back before that. They believe in this whole thing where it's like you don't talk politics, you don't talk religion, you don't talk about that stuff. And it's like, why not? What's wrong with talking about stuff like that? If it's something that's important in your life, why shouldn't you talk about it? Right? Especially if you're not closed-minded about it. If you're just like, if it comes up in conversation, share your beliefs. Why not? If it conflicts a little bit, so what? So be it. It's better off having a conversation with somebody who conflicts with you than not. I'm a big proponent that bubble talk, which is talking within groups that share the same belief systems, share the same one-sided views. Like, yeah, there's a time and a place for that, but you really need to be able to go out there and challenge other people's views. You need to be able to take your view and just throw it in the mix. Find somebody who is completely against it, and then just argue your points, so you're able to build a better perspective on it. And I'm a big believer in that. So let me see, how long has this been recording for? This doesn't even say. Doesn't have a time or nothing. Okay. So yeah, I'll probably end it with this. If you like what you hear, feel free to comment, share, like. I'm open for criticisms. I'm far from a closed book, and yeah. So it's been fun, been real. The hashtags I'm going with today: Democrat implosion 2020. You can count on it. I see it happening this year. I don't see any way Biden gets in office. No way. It's just he's just nah. It's too much dirt. Too many decades of inaction. He's like senile. Guy can't say the right thing. He's always trying to get off stage. Looks like all the creep moments. It's like how they even decide to elect him. Like, how is he your candidate? Really? I mean, Bernie was freaking nuts, but like I thought at the very least, like their best bet would have been like Buttigieg or one of the females, except for Kamala, Warren. Who was you want to like? I thought maybe Klobuchar. Klobuchar would probably get in there. I thought Klobuchar would probably or Buttigieg. Like those two would probably stood the best chance as far as getting through. But of course, the party of diversity. They kicked out all the minorities first to have the white people left. That's how the Democrats they want you to believe that they want diversity. They want you to believe that they want unity. They don't. They want division. They want to split everybody up into separate little groups. They want to segregate you. It's the same plan that they had back in the day. Keep everybody separate. You don't want to find out about the issues they're having there or here. You don't want to see what we're doing to them. You don't want to see the voter farms. You don't want to see the public housing plantations. You don't want to see the busing that goes from there to the voting booth. God forbid you want ID to vote. They don't have IDs. Like, get out of here. Get out of here. Of course everybody has ideas. You just don't want to get caught with all your fake votes. Like, yeah, there's plenty of studies out there that say that voter fraud doesn't really happen. So what do you have to hide by having voter ID? What do you have to hide? Are you afraid that they're going to catch and find out that there's a ton of voter fraud? And why do you think mailing ballots is a good idea when the statistics from it just happening have been proven to be a disaster? You're talking a presidential election that won't be able to actually be counted for months on end. And who knows if all those votes are the actual people. Trump is scared of having more voters. No, we're scared of voter fraud and not being able to check it. Like, maybe we should do something where it's like, maybe they should create some like registration system with the mail-in ballots or something like that. Like, I don't know. That's up for another discussion. We'll do that another day. I feel like I've been going long enough. I want to try to post this tonight. I hope you enjoyed. Like, share, comment. Feel free to throw it in the comments. Say anything you want. I'm open. I left my comment page open for even if you want to say nasty stuff, you want to rip on me, make fun of me. If anything I said was wrong, feel free to fact check me. Work in progress is progression over perfection. And I'll see you next time I try to do a video. Probably a couple days. I like doing these. I've been doing 2-3 a week, so keep it going. Know what I'm saying? And you've been watching Can He Be Unleashed? Ooh, I messed up the name. Look at that. Can He Be Unchained? Rap.